Set the screen. Back to Boston. Mismatch against Alicia Gray, and she buried it. Biggest lead of the night, and it's taken away by who else? Mitchell. Lexi Hall buried it to beat the buzzer. The flourish at the end of the third quarter for Indiana in a game they have to win, and they're up 15.
The Indiana Fever walked into Game 2 with everything on the line. 10 years without a playoff win. Fans still fuming over the controversial whistles of Game 1. 5 players already ruled out. And their superstar, Caitlin Clark, stuck on the bench in street clothes. It should have been the recipe for disaster. But instead, Gainbridge Fieldhouse became the site of something no one expected. A storm of redemption. The Fever didn't just win. They dominated. They silenced the refs, erased the doubt, and reminded everyone why this team can't be counted out. But what fueled that turnaround? And who stepped up when everything seemed lost? Let's dive into the game that changed everything.
Game 3, baby! Game 3! See you in Atlanta. Not done yet.
One more.
Jump in the chat, baby! Come on! Come on!
Need that.
One more game, baby! One more game!
This wasn't just another playoff crowd. The fans inside Gainbridge walked in carrying rage. Rage at the referees. Rage at the injustice of Game 1. People weren't just disappointed. They felt robbed. Social media was filled with words like rigged and stolen. And then, just minutes into Game 2, another whistle blew on Lexi Hull for what looked like flawless defense. Instead of crushing the energy, it set the tone. The fans weren't going to let the refs define this night. They roared louder, turning the frustration into fuel. And if you thought the Fever players didn't hear it, you'd be wrong. They carried that same defiance onto the court. But as the anger grew, one person's words turned it into focus.
There's a certain desperation that has to come with how you play every possession. I didn't feel like in Game 1 we played with that desperate mentality that we needed, particularly when you look at 50-50 balls, when you look at how many times, we didn't get inside the three-point line for a defensive rebound and the ball hit the floor and they were able to get it. There's got to be a desperation that you play with and a sense of urgency that you play with at all times. We didn't have that consistently for 40 minutes in Game 1. I expect us to have it here tonight.
Head coach Stephanie White didn't tiptoe around the truth. After Game 1, she flat out said her team lacked desperation. She told them, every possession has to be played with urgency. Every ball has to be fought for like your season depends on it. That wasn't just coach speak, that was a challenge. And the Fever answered. From the opening tip, Indiana played as if the season was already slipping through their fingers. They weren't waiting for calls. They weren't waiting for breaks. They came out swinging, diving on the floor, chasing every loose ball. White had demanded a fight, and her team showed they were ready for war. But could they keep that fire burning for 40 minutes? The answer stunned everyone.
See her go downhill, be more aggressive offensively. This is a great matchup. Boston against Jones.
Just a fun matchup between two big posts with size, with good anything.
Boston up, under, and in.
From the first basket to the final buzzer, Indiana never trailed. Not once. Think about that. A wire-to-wire playoff win. Their first since 2002. There were no ties, no lead changes, no room for controversy. Atlanta kept searching for momentum, but every time they blinked, Indiana slammed the door shut. The Fever weren't just competing, they were dictating. Every possession looked rushed for the dream. Every shot felt desperate. And for once, officiating wasn't even part of the conversation, because Indiana refused to leave doubt on the table. Still, winning takes more than defense. Someone had to shoulder the offense, and that's when one player stepped into the spotlight.
Kelsey, you've had a lot of moments with this franchise throughout the years. Where does leading them to a playoff win at home kind of rank among them?
Oh, man, it takes a village. I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization. So I think it took a collective group effort to be able to be here. And I think that our first win here was big for us because we've been resilient throughout the course of the year. And it was just, I don't know, it felt really good to see ourselves on top and do something great for a change. When it comes to us being resilient, have to fight off a lot of ups and downs, backs and forth. And so it felt good for us to really, come out on top tonight.
Caitlin Clark was missing. The question was obvious. Who would step up? Kelsey Mitchell answered with authority. 19 points, 4 three-pointers. Every shot seemed to arrive at the exact moment Indiana needed it most. She didn't just score, she shifted momentum. She didn't just lead, she carried. Without Clark drawing defenders, Mitchell had to create her own space, and she made Atlanta pay for every mistake. Fans who doubted whether Mitchell could shine under playoff lights got their answer. This was her night, and she owned it. But she wasn't the only one rewriting the story. Inside the paint, another battle was brewing. Game 1 belonged to Bree Jones. Game 2? Aaliyah Boston flipped the script. She scored 15 points, grabbed boards, dished out assists, and turned the post into her personal stage. When Atlanta sent double teams, Boston didn't panic. She punished them, finding open shooters and cutters. Every possession through her hands felt dangerous. Her strength and poise made it clear. Indiana had a star who could not be bullied. The Dream wanted the interior battle. Boston ended it before it even began. And while her dominance steadied the team, it was grit from another veteran that kept the Fever on top. If Boston was the anchor, Natasha Howard was the fighter. She chipped in 12 points, ripped down rebounds, and gave Indiana a physical edge Atlanta couldn't match. Howard did the dirty work, boxing out, diving after misses, muscling for putbacks. She was the enforcer, the player who made sure the Fever didn't get pushed around. And on a night when every possession mattered, her relentlessness mattered just as much as Mitchell's shooting or Boston's post moves. But the biggest surprise came from a player nobody had on their radar. 9 points, 9 minutes. That's all rookie Michaela Timpson needed to flip the script. Barely used during the regular season, she suddenly became the spark Indiana didn't know it had. Her fearless drives and quick finishes weren't just filler. They came at critical stretches, stopping Atlanta runs and injecting momentum back into Indiana's veins. For a team missing 5 players, Timpson's breakout proved one thing. Depth wasn't dead. It was alive and thriving. And just when the crowd thought they'd seen it all, Gainbridge erupted in a way it hadn't in nearly a decade. With the third quarter ticking down, Lexi Hull lined up a shot. At the buzzer, it dropped. 3 points on the scoreboard, but an earthquake in the building. The arena exploded. Fans jumped, screamed, hugged strangers. It wasn't just a bucket, it was a release. Years of frustration, heartbreak, and waiting all pouring out in one roar. That shot symbolized more than momentum. It was the night Indiana finally felt like a playoff city again. And from that moment, there was no doubt whose game this was. But the Fever weren't done yet. Their defense was about to write the final chapter. Atlanta thrives on pace and perimeter shooting. Indiana suffocated both. The Dream shot just 39% from the floor and a dismal 5 for 19 from deep. Their spacing collapsed. Their rhythm was gone. Every possession turned into a scramble. Indiana dictated the tempo so completely that the refs became irrelevant. This wasn't a win created by hot shooting luck. This was a blueprint. Smother them, slow them, and force them to panic. And it worked to perfection. But the scoreboard only tells half the story. The real shift happened behind closed doors. After the game, Aaliyah Boston didn't hide her pride. She called it a masterclass. The locker room, she said, was crazy with energy. Kelsey Mitchell echoed her words. Resilience, grit, unity. Even Caitlin Clark, sidelined, fed the fire. Clapping from the bench, posting emotional reactions online, proving she was still part of the heartbeat. For a team that had been battered by injuries, doubt, and nearly a decade of irrelevance, this win was more than just evening a series. It was a resurrection, a moment where they finally believed not just that they could win, but that they could control their own destiny. And now, all that belief faces its ultimate test. Game 3 in Atlanta. Do or die. The series tied, the momentum flipped, and the Fever carrying confidence for the first time in years. Atlanta will play desperate, but desperation is nothing new for Indiana. They've been living it all season. They've endured officiating chaos, 5 missing players, and a decade of playoff heartbreak. Yet here they are, one win away from rewriting their history. The refs can't be the story anymore. The Fever have already silenced the doubters, silenced the controversy, and reminded the league who they are. The only question left is this: can they silence Atlanta in their own house? The answer is coming.